What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Brandon, also known as Kiddo Crew. I'm doing my 10 games of Crew video. We're going to talk about the matchups, the interactions, some of them that I found pretty useful. I'm going to wrap up what I think about this team overall now that we've completed 10 games with the team. Real quick, there's been a change to my Patreon. The payment options were set in an archaic way that was not beneficial to building a community and doing things properly. So I've reset the Patreon. It's still Kiddo Crew, but it's now Kiddo Crew Gaming. You can find me over there. I've already reposted all of my old posts to the new Patreon, so it's all set up for absolutely free, everyone to check out. Same as always, this video will be the first thing that actually goes live on there, along with all the old content that you guys tune in for. Okay, so getting started, we're going to go off on the equipment and the operatives. The equipment's actually really easy. The big shining light here is the trophy that gives a +1 APL. Unfortunately, you're sort of restricted to taking 2 of them, which is fine, only because it also has a limitation of activating 1 per turning point. Those are 3 each, so that is 6 equipment points. 2 more equipment points will almost always go into the Ritual Blade. Lets your Kill Broker actually do something decent melee. Still 3 attacks, 4-5, but with Cutthroats, it goes up to 4 attacks, 4-5, hitting on 2s, which is a solid profile enough to take out most 8-win teams, and there are a lot of 8-win teams in the meta. So you definitely want to be taking that Ritual Blade. The last 2 equipment points are sort of the flex ones. If you're on Into the Dark and it's a Horde team, a Quill Grenade's always a nice threat. Blast is always scary for a lethal 5. Outside of that, you just take a couple of meats. My suggestions would be on your Kill Broker, which is your leader, or the Cold Blood, since he only takes normal damage. He can survive some of the weaker firepower, eat the meat, and keep going strong. Those are really the only 2 operatives I would take it on, since most everyone else tends to die before that. Okay. Operative selection is also really easy. You're going to take the Scanner for the Heavy Gunner option every single time. I would not even be surprised if you don't take the Tribalist on the roster. It just is so inconsistent. It's not worth taking ever. I'd rather deal with Cumbersome than take the Tribalist. So you'll take all of the specialists. You'll choose 1 weapon loadout for your leader. If you're doing this 1 box, I would just give him a Crude Rifle. It's the only gun that he has that hits on 3s, so that he can actually has a chance to shoot and hit things. If you are building a full roster, you get 1 of each. You have the room on your roster, go for it. And then again, if you're only building 1 box, I would suggest building 2 doggos and 1 warrior with a scattergun, which is the shotgun equivalent. The 2 dogs just comes up in so many matchups. It's amazing. I think the competitive option for loot missions specifically is to take 2 warriors instead of 2 dogs. But even then, just how fast the dogs are and their utility they bring to the battlefield is just unparalleled on this team, and they really need it. The dogs are almost every game the MVP, whether it's scoring recover item or taking out operatives that were far in the back. They're amazing. So on to the games. Game one, I can talk. Game 1 was into Blades of Cain. Biggest tip I can give in the matchup is know that your bird takes away light cover, not treats them as engaged. This is a very big difference. Where Vet Guard treats an operative as engaged, Super Conceal, as it's known, means that you stay concealed no matter what other rules are. That's fine. They just can't use light cover against your bird. That's the way it's worded. So you just get treated as if you're out in the open if you're using light cover. So you can still expose the super concealed scorpions. So look for objectives that are only covered by light cover. You can expect them to use a striking scorpion to go there and use their X-Arc power, their martial art power to get super conceal. And then you just go, cool, you don't count as in light cover at all. So the bird is a little bit of a weird tech there. Keep that in mind. The game 2 is in the Novitiates. I used the bird. This was on Into the Dark, and it's one of the ones where in the middle room, the only way to have cover on the middle objective is to have a barricade there. I used the bird to expose the operative that was going to sit there every single time. So it made my opponent either cycle out or move or get out of dodge so I don't just delete the operative every turn. And they let me come up and poach. which meant that they had to either boost APL to take the point back or kill the operative, then move on to the point. And it's just so much APL sink into a really basic play that you really want to utilize. And I'll go into a very small number of tricks with the bird specifically that you want to keep in mind, because if you're not doing it, this alone can win you games. Game 3 was in Scouts. A big boost in this matchup is recognize when your opponent can only shoot with their 6-inch guns. One of the greatest things about Scouts is that they have shotguns that hit on 2s. They have 6-inch range guns. Your Pistolier will shoot them first if he's active and ready to go. If he is not activated yet, he shoots them before getting shot at. And yes, shotgun hitting on 2s can kill the Pistolier. Pistolier hitting on 3s with lethal 5 can also kill a Scout before he even gets the shot off, or make it so that he's hitting on 3s and not 2s. You can do a lot of damage with him very quickly. A very key operative in that matchup is the Scout leader. You want to headhunt that guy. Don't actually take Hunter, but if you can take him out early turn 2, do so. Crippling Scouts to only being a 2 APL team across the board, taking out their leader does that. You have the speed with the dogs. If you have to throw away both dogs to do it, do it. Game 4 was in the Inquisition on Into the Dark. How you deal with this team is going to really depend on what auxiliary they take. Exaction Squad and Kashyyykin and Breachers are all going to have very different playstyle methods that you got to sort of work around. 10 games is not nearly enough. Maybe 10 games against only Inquisition, but 10 games just as Kroot into that matchup is not nearly enough to get a feel for how that'll go one-off. It's one of the few matchups where you sort of need experience into both Kashyyykin, Exaction Squad, Vet Guard, Breachers, and the things that Inquisition bring to that as well. I really just haven't faced that many Inquisition players to give a full synopsis of where your strengths lie against that team. Game 5 was into Illusidian Starstriders. You out-activate this team. I don't like Implant's gameplay style, and you'll find that over the course of my matches if you go back and read. I start taking Butcher a lot because it's not a lot of damage that you lose out with Implant. It's 9, maybe 12 damage, but that 9-12 damage can matter a lot for removing assets. And Kroot already struggled to remove assets from the board. Nerfing yourself even further in that sense for attack ops that you can also viably score, I don't think that's a good game plan. As much as Implant Balance the Books combo is great, it's a play you want to keep in mind if you don't think you can punch through Space Marine armor, whatever the case is. Maybe it's Gellerpox and you don't think you can implant the big ones, whatever. It's fine. I understand it. It's something that you can take, but when you need the damage, you already don't do great damage. You need to not be giving up more damage for Implant. It leaves you with less assets at the end of the game to try to play the rest of the game. Game 7 was in the Hand of the Archon. You want to spread out to avoid the Fields Bag Grenade. They do have some respectable shooting, so you have to watch out for that as well. If you can protect your dogs, the dogs are great. Even into the 6-up Field of Pain, you can even bringing a Hand of the Archon elf down to 1 or 2 wounds out of their 8. They don't really use their medic to heal, and the medic can only go so far. But there's a non-zero chance the dogs just go in and tear a throat out. It's really, really solid. They can get really deep. Dogs are super amazing. This is going to sound very stereotypical, but their 2 melee operatives will out-melee you across the board. Don't engage them. Shoot them. That's just how you do it. You cannot engage those 2 operatives. The Flare and the Bloody Duelist guy will rip you to shreds if you let them. Do not let them. They have respectable guns. If you can dig into them with your hounds, do so. And you just sort of try to play that polarizing style. Turn 1, don't be afraid to pass on your leader's ability to negate your opponent trying to gain CP for free. with Cunning. You don't really need the leader's ability turn 1 anyway. If you absolutely need Bound, fine, eat it. But giving that team CP is not ideal. If you can avoid it, do so. Game 8 was into Felgor Ravagers. My opponent really mispositioned on one flank, which gave me a huge up in this game. As with all Into the Dark games, you want to see where you can use a barricade to actually block off into some of those tighter corridors. You can make it so 32 mil bases can't fit around on either side of the single square hallways between two of the pillars. And proper spacing there means that your Pistolier and one other operative can just stand behind the barricade, unchargeable, and shoot whoever comes into the room. And again, Felgor just have 6-inch pistols, so your Pistolier looks super amazing. Even the crack grenade can bring them down to being injured. Crack grenade hitting on 4s, you're auto-retaining the 2 saves you get anyway. Drastically reduces your chances of dying in that instance. It's probably the one matchup I would give the Pistolier meat if I'm taking it, because he's so likely to live after getting shot at from their pistols or whatever the case is, that you can just leave him on engaged behind a barricade and safe and do great work with him. That leads us into game 9, which was into Pathfinders. Except for their one operative, their Transspectral guy, the team needs quite a bit of setup to ignore obscurity, to bring you out of light cover, takes so many marker lights, and they don't really want to spend that early on. Again, the Kroot Hounds are absolutely amazing threat pieces. If you can safely deploy one on engage, it can charge half the map on open boards, and if they don't take out one of your Kroot Hounds early, it's one of your easiest ways to double charge and get a double kill in a single activation before they get to go. Pathfinders are known for double activations between stealing the initiative and analyzing or stealing the initiative and using the drone controller to activate the drone controller and then the drone. There's a lot of combinations that team have to double activate and remove your models. They will shoot you. They will kill you with the shots. Charge and get into them deep. The dogs are the fastest ones. You get a double kill early on with them. They not only have to spend resources killing the dogs, but then you're up operatives. And the second you're up operatives, you can start trading for one and pushing them off primary. So that would be my suggestion on that team. The last game was the most interesting game to me. It was into Ecclesiarchy. This is a compendium team, and if someone's learning the game, I won't include it on these bat reps because I don't think that someone learning the game is a very interesting matchup. I don't just want to have 10 wins because someone is learning the basics of the game. But my opponent's pedigree in this game is well established in the Killteam community. He knows what he's doing and was specifically trying a counter to Felgor on Into the Dark. We figured out that it's probably still a decent matchup with a couple of misgivings, but that's totally okay. He took Arco-Flagellants, which are 10 wounds with a 5-up Feel No Pain. Now, you remember when I said Kroot don't exactly have like put down power? They have chip damage. That is drastically clear in this matchup. Those Arco-Flagellants with a 5-up Feel No Pain were such an obnoxious pain to cut through. The Sisters have a 3-up armor. The Arco-Flagellants have 10 wounds and a 5-up Feel No Pain, which just dissipates your already damage output of this team. It's absolutely painful to fight that. So there's not that many teams that are resilient in that sense, where they're just so many wounds with a 5-up Feel No Pain anymore. Gellerpox is one of them, but it's limited to 4 models. Vetguard have one. Legionnaires have one, which can be a problem. That guy's sort of a damage sponge anyway. Everyone's well aware of the Nurgle Legionnaire with the -1 attack aura. So this is one of the matchups where I would suggest you take the Balance the Books combo, because scoring Butcher into those very chunky operatives is very difficult. Kroot is also, not Kroot. Commandos is also one you may want to consider the implant with, because they're going to charge and kill you. They're going to do it from conceal. They're very mobile. They're deceptively mobile for orcs, and they are tough. Chewing 10 wounds down with this team is actually pretty tough. And although their armor save isn't as respectable as the scouts, just a scratch makes your math absolutely crap now. So everyone has a problem with commandos. They barely got touched with the data slate. That's fine. But again, into matchups where you don't think you can push that amount of damage to score Butcher, that's when you have Balance the Books ready to go. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about just a couple of things to look out for in games that can really turn the tide. Looking for an objective that you can deploy your bird turn 1 and expose it turn 1. I've set up the map now so that this map just happened to have a good objective marker. So your tracker has effectively a 12-inch range for where he can expose models with the bird token. Okay, and if you use it right and keep it in mind, so the bird token has to deploy within 6. So any operative in this range you can expose and get shots at. Okay. Well, that means that if an operative is right back here, it's still within cover, outside of range, and is not being exposed. Switch to conceal. Thank you. So the very common thing that I was looking for in maps was, does a recon dash with the scouting option get that bird somewhere that is actually a threat turn 1? Because turn 2 you can get it wherever you want practically, but turn 1 is the hardest time that you can get, and you want to try to be pressuring as soon as possible, right from the get-go. So you can't really do that here. So with the recon dash up 3, just keep within cover of your own barricade. Now you can, when you deploy the bird, he can cover both of these objectives. Okay, and you need to keep this in mind because unlike other things where you activate it and it's a 0 APL or whatever the case is, the bird launches the second you activate this tracker. So if you're going to expose, you need him out there and in position to be able to ready to expose that far. That's can catch people off. It's really useful, and then you just go, okay, cool. I'm going to give +1 APL, and I'm going to give expose whatever guy is over here that can move dash to get there. You dash up. Make sure you're pre-measuring this. You dash up, be within 12 of it, and shoot whoever that is for free damage. It's a really common thing. It helped me into the Hand of the Archon game specifically from memory. That's part of the combo of it. The other aspect that I want to encourage you to do is to not be afraid to use your trophies turn 1 if it gets you into an advantageous position. For example, if this Coldblood had a trophy and you had Bound, which on Beta Decima you're going to be playing Bound all the time just to avoid jump tests, that means that this move right here, if I have 2D measuring on, that's 4 inches of move, 2 for the climb, 2 for the move. You have 5 more. You auto jump, and then you could secure this point. There's not that many teams that are going to be able to jump and get an operative here to secure this point. I think the total list is 10 out of the 28, soon to be 30 teams. So look for positions where you can take advantage of that. Also, you don't need to activate him right away. But that is with Bound, being able to auto pass jump tests, that'll really help you out on Beta Decima. I didn't have any Beta Decima games as it was not out yet. We're still waiting on the match play pack, which is what this is a part of. But looking at them, it's going to be very polarizing to teams that avoid jump tests and that can avoid obscurity. So take advantage where you need to. The trophies you can only activate once per turning point, as in, even if I have a trophy on this Coldblood and a trophy on my leader, only one of them can do it during the turning point. This is very frustrating. So I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here, and I'm apologizing in advance, so bear with me. Everyone on this team has a limiter. Everything. The only ones that don't have a limiter are the Cold Blood and the Bow Hunter. And even then, the Bow Hunter typically gets a trophy just so he can energize and get lethal 5 on his splash shots, which on Into the Dark you don't need because it always gets lethal 5, but regardless, okay? So those are the only ones that can actually do whatever is on the tin of what they do. Those two and the dogs. Everyone else has a limiter. The long sight can only shoot from conceal if he can use his second APL to make sure he has silent, because it's not built in. He has to use long sight for 1 AP to ignore obscurity and get silent. And lethal 5. It gives him a lot of things, but he has to do it. He doesn't have the option to be on engage in a safe spot and dash and shoot and get all his benefits. He needs to do all the things. The Pistolier. Where are you at? Pistolier can only dash and then double shoot. His thing is to double shoot, but he can only dash and double shoot. He cannot make a full move. He cannot move dash. Very limiting. The Cut Skin. He has a double fight ability if he's still engaged. The problem with this is that he only double fights the same target he was already fighting. Why? He's already not that great into most melee matchups. If you fight anyone that's doing melee, they're going to do 4 to 6 damage. And then if you fight anyone else on a team like that, they're going to do the 2 to 4 damage again when he fights, and he's going to die before he kills 2 models anyway. Just let him double fight two different things. The Stalker is your charge from conceal guy. He can only do the stealth attack. First off, it costs both his APL. Second off, he can only do it if he moves only a 6-inch for his charge. So it's very restricted on how far he can go. The Skinner is your big AP2 flamer gun. It has Cumbersome. It always only has a 12-inch threat range or a 8-inch threat range if they're in cover. Because it's the only way you negate that cover. Like, it's so limiting. And then, the last but not least, the Leader. The Leader hits on 2s in melee. And his gun, his Crude Rifle hits on 3s. The other 2 Tau guns that he gets hits on 4s. Why? If he's good at 8, just let him hit on 3s. The Crude Rifle has access to equipment to make it better. The other guns are either 4.5 or 4.4. The 4.41 has a photon grenade. The 4.51 can't get AP. Each one of them has its strengths and weaknesses because you can make this Crude Rifle 3.4 AP1 with the penetrating shot. So, like, what the heck? Each one should have a strength and weakness. Just let the other ones hit on 3s. Heck, make the Crude Rifle hit on 2s. It's a bolter profile that hit on 2s for the Leader. It's not scary. It's consistent, but, like, it's going to kill a guardsman at best. Like, Hearthkin would just laugh at this. Neat. You hit on 2s, I don't care, it's 3 damage. So, everyone on the team is extremely limited. The tracker's limited just by the timing of the placement of when his bird comes out. The team has issues with this. And I understand to an extent. Like, the Pistolier, if he was able to move dash and double shoot, that could be an issue. This is a 12 operative team, and limiting this team from getting double kills is understandable. You don't want an operative that can charge, fight, shoot, or double move dash and shoot twice and kill 2 operatives when you're facing another team of 13 operatives. 13 to 14 operatives. But this is so limiting that it's not even useful against the elites. It's not even threatening into people that you need the double shoot into. Because if you don't have the double shoot, it's a bolter with lethal 5 and no AP. It's a bolt pistol with lethal 5 and no AP. Like, Blooded have scarier bolt pistols. Because they can shoot into combat. So, I don't understand why not only does this team have so many specialists, which is fine, but having to not only remember the specialists, but also remember all the detriments to each individual specialist makes this team just really, really hard to learn. And I definitely understand why this is not a very widespread team, because when you're trying to learn the rules, you don't want each individual person to be limited in a different way from someone else, on top of having a special thing they're trying to do already. It's like if each of the blooded operatives had a detriment in addition to them being a 7 or 8 wound model with special rules. It's a lot to try to remember. That's my little rant. Sorry about that. Your most effective operatives, like I said, are your dogs. Them being able to GA2 means that they can even take down everything short of like the Corn Legionnaire, since some of them will have an auto crit and they just crit you for 7, you only get 1 hit in. But outside of that, they're your strongest missiles to send in and do damage. So now I'm on to the summary of this team. I was really frustrated with the Balance the Books playstyle. It doesn't suit me at all personally. I didn't find it very fun, and if I couldn't hold on, nothing in the team gave me outs to stay tough and live it out, to try to contest primary very well. I think playing with Butcher and Seek and Destroy is so much more fun and rewarding. The melee profiles on the team struggle to reach Space Marine Fist status, which, like, it's not scary. The Stalker has 3 attack space. Why? He's supposed to be one of your only melee operatives. Why doesn't he have 4 attack space? I don't understand. You're trying to utilize every specialist in not only what they do uniquely, but also within the confines of their limitations, because everyone has a limitation. This team excels on Secure. If you have Secure in your mission lineup, this team can definitely excel in that mission. It does okay in loot, and capture is a nightmare for this team. Like, if anyone has seen How I Met Your Mother, this team is the Naked Man, because 2 out of 3 times it works every time. Like, it's such a stark contrast from playing a game of capture and playing a game of secure. Being able to poach objectives is a superpower of this team. Let's see. I have notes. I actually took notes for my video because my friend yelled at me saying, "Hey, you're all over the damn place. Script your shit." And I was like, "But I don't wanna." So I started to really enjoy the team later on, playing more of a Butcher style. The last game into Ecclesiarchy I could not get through that private campaign for the life of me. It's still really rough, and something that was brought up in a Discord literally hours ago was that it's not that the team doesn't do damage, it's that the team doesn't delete assets with the damage. And what I mean by that is when you shoot your plasma gun and you delete the Space Marine, you delete the whatever it is, you kill one of their assets, you remove it from the table. And there is so little on this team that can activate and reliably remove even a 7 wound model off the board reliably. And that feels terrible. It's not that you're not going to do damage to that model. It's that you don't know if you're going to kill it. And because it's alive on 1 wound, since most of your profiles are 3-4, even your melee profiles are 3-4, if that crit doesn't get through on 3 dice, if they roll a single crit save and take the 2 normal hits, they're alive on 1. And that applies to 7, 8, 9, 10 wound models all the dang time. And the more that number goes up, or the more the number of defensive traits that chassis has, the lower and lower the damage that you push through is. Into Space Marines, you're lucky to push 3 damage through with a shot. That is rough. Plasma goes, hey, look, here's 15 damage. Delete that model. Whatever it is, I don't care. That thing's deleted. And that takes you effectively 5 activations to do. All the while they're deleting assets. It's a very unique team. It's very interesting. I don't feel rewarded with it. I think that the team has some rewarding play styles and some rewarding plays. But it's very difficult when you don't just delete an asset from your opponent. A lot of turn 2, a lot of the initiative on turn 2 and turn 3 is to either delete assets early on in turn 2 or to delete one of the few remaining threats in turn 3 so that you can run around the board and do whatever mission you need to do for the rest of the game. I wish it felt more rewarding to do these plays. This play is telegraphed from 10 miles away. Even if you were to dash the long sight boat up here with a barricade here, like, what does that gain you? It gains you, like, you get to shoot this point all day long, but you still need to get someone there to contest it and take it. And even this is super telegraphed. You're like, oh, that's where your long sight is? I wonder what he's going to do all game. So, nothing in this team feels super rewarding. It takes a lot of setup and a lot of consistency to put down models. And not being able to delete assets feels really bad. Especially as my main team is blooded. All those operatives have no problem killing stuff. You put a Phobos Marine in front of them, whatever it is, they will eat that. From the Thug, maybe not the Flenser, I guess. But, like, all of them can take on a Marine almost toe-to-toe individually, whether it's with shooting or melee. And this team just doesn't feel like it can do that over the course of multiple activations. So it struggles. It's pretty quick. If you can bound properly, you can ignore the first 2 for climbing, then ignore the traverse and end up over here turn 1. So it can be pretty quick. But you need to understand where its speed is, or you're going to be losing out on it. And I know there's a couple players out there that really enjoy this team. They're a neat team. It's not for me. I still think the team is middle to lower C tier. You can score a win or 2 off of it. You can definitely get some gotchas out there where your opponent's not quite prepared for the bird play. But overall, into an equal skill level opponent, I think you're going to really struggle to pull wins out with this team. Despite my record with this team, I went 7-2-1. So 7 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. One of those losses was absolutely crushing into Blades of Cain, and I didn't even know what I could do about it differently. I definitely think you have play in that matchup. You want to outshoot them, and you won't need to be aware of where on the board you can do that. And that's less team specific and more just understanding a board layout more than anything. So that is my take on this team. Not a bad team. Has some play, but it's going to definitely struggle if they want to win a 2-day event or win a golden ticket and the like. And that's my thoughts. If you want to catch any of my written bat reps, the new Patreon is going to be patreon.com/KidOCrewGaming. That's a 0, Kid 0, KREW Gaming. This will be posted up on my YouTube, which is also Kiddo Crew Gaming. I'm Kiddo Crew everywhere, go figure. But there's going to be a link to it in my Patreon, and this will be wrapping up my Kroot experience, and here's my little insights with the team. Next up, I'm going to be doing Scouts. I already have a game under my belt with them, so I'll be doing that right up pretty soon and posting it up so everyone can see it. And that team, I think Kroot have an amazing matchup into Scouts, but that team feels so clunky already, and we will see how it goes. I'm also going to be introducing Beta Decima maps into the bat reps if my opponents are willing to play them, because as much as I think this terrain is polarizing in a sense, I don't think it's going to go away fast enough for us to not need to learn it. So I'm going to be introducing it as part of my games. And that's my take on Kroot. Last quick shout out is going to go to Matt Remy for my picture of his Code Broker, which will be on this thumbnail that I make for this video. Thanks, bud, for letting me use your model for that. And shout out to my Patrons. You guys are awesome. Despite my not knowing how to work Patreon, I appreciate you guys and gals and whatever pronouns you want to use. I don't care. Till next time. Later.